A licensed attorney swore under oath that the United States government teleported him through time when he was a child. Not a drifter, not an internet crank, a man who passed the bar. He wrote down the year 2026 in 1971, and what he described back then reads like this morning's headlines. The documents he claims to have seen as a boy describe events happening right now in our decade with a precision that should be impossible. Teleported through time. And here's the part nobody can explain away. If you've ever felt that the official story doesn't add up, that someone is hiding the real machinery of history, then stay until the end, because what I'm about to show you isn't refuted by the people who could refute it in one sentence. By the time we're done, you'll understand exactly who Andrew Basiago is, why DARPA silence is louder than any denial, and why his 1971 notes about the year 2026 are the single strangest document I have ever encountered. Silence speaks. Who is Basiago? Let's start with the man himself, because credibility is everything here. Andrew D. Basiago isn't some anonymous voice. He's a practicing attorney, a graduate with degrees in history and law, a member of the bar in good standing. This is a person trained to weigh evidence, to spot a lie, to build an argument that survives cross-examination. And his testimony has stayed consistent for over 20 years. Word for word, detail for detail. His story never changes, and that terrifies the skeptics. Now here's the detail that gives the whole thing weight. His father, Raymond F. Basiago, was an engineer who worked on classified projects for the Ralph M. Parsons Company, a defense contractor with deep ties to DARPA. Andrew claims his father brought him into the program as a child. Think about that. A father with real defense credentials, a son who grew up to become a lawyer, both pointing at the same agency. DARPA. Most fabricators crack under repetition. Their stories drift. But Basiago's account has been frozen in place since 2004. So if he's lying, he's the most disciplined liar in modern history. And if he's telling the truth, then everything you think you know about what your government can do is about to feel very, very small. Tesla's stolen tech. Where does a program like this even come from? You don't just invent time travel in a government lab overnight. According to Basiago, it started with a dead genius. In January 1943, Nikola Tesla died alone in a New York hotel room. Within hours, the Federal Office of Alien Property seized every document, every notebook, every blueprint he left behind. Officially, they were checking for sensitive wartime technology. The papers were examined and supposedly returned. But Basiago claims those seized papers became the theoretical foundation of Project Pegasus. Seized, overnight, gone. And before you dismiss that, remember what DARPA actually built. The internet, GPS, stealth aircraft, technology that looked like pure science fiction decades before the public saw it. This is an agency whose entire job is the radically impossible. If you're finding this as wild as I am, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now, because we are about to go somewhere no history book will take you. Tesla spent his final years claiming he could see across time and space. The government took his papers the moment he died. And Basiago says the next step wasn't a machine sitting in a lab. It was something far more disturbing, and it involved children. Child time jumpers. Why children? That single question is the most chilling part of this entire story. Basiago claims that roughly 140 kids were used as chrononauts, and the reasoning behind that choice is monstrous in its logic. He describes 3 reasons the program preferred minors. 1. Young brains adapt to time displacement. 2. Minors have no legal standing as witnesses. 3. Family loyalty seals the secret forever. First, neural plasticity. A child's developing brain could supposedly absorb the trauma of temporal displacement that would shatter an adult mind. Second, legal invisibility. As minors, these children couldn't testify in any meaningful way, couldn't sign documents, couldn't be believed. Third, family loyalty. If your own father brought you into the program, who exactly are you going to report it to? The perfect prison is the one you can't describe, and one destination, Basiago says, was no random test run. The children were sent to a very specific night in American history. The evening of April 14th, 1865, Ford's Theater, the night a president was murdered. He claims he stood in that crowd as a boy, in period clothing, watching history's most famous assassination unfold around him. And he says there's a photograph that proves it. The Lincoln jump, a photograph of a time traveler at the Lincoln assassination. I know how that sounds, but follow the chain of logic carefully because it's tighter than you'd expect. Basiago describes being sent to April 14th, 1865, dressed in period-accurate clothing, instructed to blend into the chaos at Ford's Theater. And here's where it gets strange. There exists a famous glass plate photograph from that era showing a crowd, and within it, a boy who looks oddly out of place, almost too modern in his stance. He described that exact photograph before any historian showed it to him. That's the claim that's hard to wave away. Skeptics say he simply found the image and built a story around it. But Basiago's defenders insist he detailed the photograph, the clothing, the position, before it was ever presented to him publicly. Impossible. Now, a photograph alone proves nothing. Old images are blurry, faces are easy to misread, and the human mind loves to find patterns. I'll be the first to say it. But Basiago always insisted these weren't isolated trips for sightseeing. They were missions with a documented purpose. And what those participants were sent forward to observe is the part that genuinely stopped me cold. Writings from 1971. Here's the mission that reframes everything. According to Basiago, participants weren't only sent into the past. Some were sent forward to the mid-2020s, our decade, and instructed to observe and report back. Their observations, he says, were documented in classified DARPA reports written in the early 1970s. Sit with that for a moment. Notes written when men were still walking on the moon, describing the world of 2026. And when researchers filed Freedom of Information Act requests to find these documents, they didn't get a clean denial. They got redactions, black bars, pages with the content blocked out. Redacted, not denied. You can't redact something that doesn't exist. There is a profound difference between we have no such records and we have records, but you can't see them. The great enemy of the truth is very often not the lie, but the myth. Kennedy understood that the most dangerous deceptions aren't outright lies. They're the comfortable stories we tell ourselves so we don't have to look closer. And the comfortable story here is that this is all nonsense. But the redactions suggest something is being protected. The question is what? And the next name attached to this program is one you will absolutely recognize. Obama on Mars. This is the claim that turned a fringe story into a national headline. Basiago alleges that a young man named Barry Soetoro participated in DARPA briefings connected to the program. That name might not ring a bell until you learn it's the name Barack Obama reportedly used in his youth. According to Basiago, future leaders were quietly briefed on classified technology, prepared for roles they'd one day hold. He describes a jump room located at the Hughes Aircraft Facility in El Segundo, California. A real building, a real defense contractor. Future leaders, pre-selected, decades in advance. Now, when this story exploded, the White House did respond. But look carefully at exactly what they denied. They denied that the president had ever set foot on Mars. They specifically denied the Mars portion, but they never denied the program, briefed future leaders, at all. That's a precision worth noticing. A blanket denial would have said this entire claim is fabricated. Instead, they addressed one sensational detail and stayed silent on the structural one. In the world of official statements, what you choose not to deny can matter more than what you do. And that pattern, the careful, surgical silence, becomes the entire story from here. The Dodd silence. Now we arrive at the strangest non-event in this entire saga. The thing that didn't happen. Basiago claims he held a government security clearance as a participant, and here's the staggering part. No agency, not the Department of Defense, not DARPA, not any branch of the US government, has ever formally denied that he held one. Think about how easy that would be. One sentence. One press release. This individual never held any clearance and was never part of any program. That single statement would collapse his entire credibility overnight, end the speculation, save them years of headlines. Never issued. But that sentence was never issued. Instead, every FOIA request comes back the same way. Redacted documents. Not we have nothing, but we have something we won't show you. 3 may keep a secret, if 2 of them are dead. Franklin knew that real secrets require silence, not denial. A lie invites scrutiny. Silence ends the conversation. Silence ends debate. So ask yourself honestly, If a man were spinning a complete fantasy, why wouldn't the most powerful military on Earth simply say so? Why choose silence over a sentence? And it gets harder to dismiss, because the things he predicted started coming true. Predictions now true. Predictions are cheap. Anyone can throw out vague guesses and claim victory, so I went in skeptical, expecting the usual horoscope-style hedging. What I found was different. Since 2004, Basiago has made over 100 public predictions, many specific, many dated, many recorded on video before the events. Now, plenty missed. I won't pretend otherwise. But a meaningful subset landed in ways that are genuinely uncomfortable. 1. The deep integration of AI into daily life. 2. Accelerating climate disruption worldwide. 3. Major geopolitical realignments. He described societies reshaped by artificial intelligence years before ChatGPT existed. He described intensifying climate chaos. He described shifting alliances between world powers. And here's the crucial distinction he always made. He claimed these weren't psychic impressions or gut feelings. The mechanism, he insisted, was observation, not imagination. He said participants physically witnessed these futures and reported back. That's a wildly different claim than fortune-telling. A psychic guesses. A witness remembers. One is a feeling. The other is a memory of the future. But broad predictions about AI and climate could be educated extrapolation. Lucky reading of trends. I get it. So the real test isn't the vague stuff. It's whether anything in those 1970s documents named our specific moment. And that, finally, is where we open the vault. The real evidence. This is it. The open loop I promised you at the very start. What exactly did those 1970s documents say about our years, 2025 and 2026? According to Basiago, the reports named 4 specific developments for this exact window. The disclosure of UAPs, of unexplained aerial phenomena by official government channels, a revolution driven by artificial intelligence, a sharp acceleration of climate disruption, and a sweeping institutional collapse of public trust in governments, media, and experts. Now read those 4 back to yourself. Those aren't predictions anymore. Those are the headlines of the past 12 months, every single one. And before you call this coincidence, remember the agency's track record. MK-Ultra mind control experiments on unwitting Americans dismissed as conspiracy theory until the documents surfaced. The Tuskegee study denied for 40 years. PRISM mass surveillance called paranoid fantasy until Snowden. The pattern is always the same. Denial, then redaction, then documents. First they call it crazy, then they hide the files, then the files come out. So where in that cycle does Project Pegasus sit right now? Comment time traveler if you think he's the real thing, or con artist if you think it's all an elaborate story. And listen, share this with as many people as you possibly can, because the more eyes on a pattern like this, the harder it becomes to bury. This is the kind of truth that needs to travel far and fast. Time is broken. So where does that leave us? Let's just sit with the evidence, calmly, one piece at a time. The seizure of Tesla's papers in 1943 is documented history. The Department of Defense's refusal to ever deny Basiago's clearance is real. And the government's pattern of denying things that turned out to be true, MK-Ultra, Tuskegee, PRISM, is undeniable fact. I'm not going to tell you to believe in time travel. I genuinely can't prove that to you. But I will ask you to notice what's actually in front of us. The truth doesn't arrive when we want it. It arrives when the world is finally ready to hear it. The most courageous act is still to think for yourself. Aloud. Maybe Andrew Basiago is the most committed performance artist who ever lived. Or maybe he's a man who saw something he was never meant to remember. What I keep coming back to is this. When you have a story this extraordinary, the single most powerful response a government can give is one flat sentence of denial. And in this case, that sentence was never spoken. Their response wasn't a no, it was silence. Here's my final reflection, and I want you to really chew on it. We live in a world where the agency that gave us the internet, GPS, and stealth technology has, by its own historical pattern, lied to the public again and again until the documents forced its hand. Basiago's claim sits in that exact uncomfortable space, too strange to accept, too unrefuted to dismiss. The Tesla seizure is real. The DoD silence is real. The pattern of disclosure is real. Whatever you decide about the man, the structure around his story is harder to wave away than it should be. If you made it all the way here, You're one of the rare few who can sit with a mystery without needing it solved. So here's our secret handshake. Comment Pegasus Protocol below so I know you went the whole distance with me. I read every single one. Keep questioning, keep digging, and never let anyone tell you the official story is the only story. Because in my experience, the truth is stranger than anything you could make up. Comment Pegasus Protocol if you made it to the end, and subscribe for more buried history. The truth is stranger than anything you could make up.